right, most major piece of information we're looking at on today's chart is that 500 period 1.25 standard deviation on the daily chart. In our previous bull run, that did hold significant support for an extended period of time. I'll take a look at the BLX chart just so we can get a full grasp of how far back that actually goes. Very nice. So, throughout all the previous support here, lo and behold, it was the 500 period that most consistently held trend. So, with that in mind, and the fact that we're currently holding that same 500 period, well, I'm inclined just to use it as a support. It seems to be very strong. It seems to have hold 5 times in a row. And because of that, I am going to buy around 9,730. And if we break that, cool, I will sell and attempt to buy based on a 14 period daily CCI roll. So we have the 14 period CCI loaded up. If this orange period rolls down, or I guess it's more sherbet, that's fine. Right, I will be buying the roll up if support does break, and if I stop out of that, well then I'm going to change my entire bias and probably to something bearish, because if we break down from this flag structure and we do not have any kind of immediate rebound or test from that value, I am not going to be inclined to attempt to play that support in any capacity, right? So if we actually have a further downward break and the CCI roll-up fails, I'm gonna wait my turn. I'll put it like that, okay? Because if we actually break significant support here, Bitcoin would have very little bullish going for it, okay? So let's talk about the lower time frames. First and foremost, I want to point out the high potential energy here, right? Volatility overhead is going to taper off very soon here, just as we saw with the previous downward trend. So when we get a significant move, we generate a large amount of mass, and then as soon as that all turns to green and blue values, well then typically trend can see resumption pretty cleanly. We are getting really close to an area of trend resumption as far as potential energy goes. Direction is not implied. That is the one problem I have with this chart. We just have high potential energy, but we don't know if it's up or down. So as soon as we see any kind of significant volume step in, we should be able to reliably take a position one direction or another, provided that we wait for any kind of fake out to play out first. So high potential energy and a lot of compression can lead to really nice scenarios. You just need to be careful that we just don't immediately dip one direction and go the other, because that is something that can typically happen after a very obvious breakout pattern, right? Because if we make something like this, we can see significant dip down before immediate reversal. We saw this in gold pretty recently. I'll show you guys on the 4-hour chart. Should work. Nice. Where we had this super obvious breakout structure, like so. Beautiful. All right, so what happens? We have 3 points of contact in the bottom and the top. It's a perfect structure. However, what happens? Oh, we have an upward break from our compression structure. Too bad, we're going back inside. A bunch of people stop out of their longs here. And then people re-enter their longs because we test the bottom trend line here. And then a bunch of people stop out because, oh, sorry, can't help you there. I'm going to scoop up all that liquidity. Look how large that selling volume is. There is a lot of stop losses firing all at once in that location. And then price just immediately reverses and see trends continuation. So breakout patterns are super risky, and you need to wait before you actually decide to bet on them. It's just too high of risk. So we have high potential energy on the 4-hour chart here, as well as the 1-hour chart. 1-hour chart does imply downward expansion, right? Because we have negatively weighted CCI with upward expanding wave PM. So I would imagine that this is the start of a new expansion. If we were to take a look at ACAT, for instance, on the 15-minute chart, we will be able to accurately define trend pivots. Because those are going to be really clean. It's above the 200 period right now. That's a really clean generation of mass. Currently looking at around roughly the 280 period. And we're in our short-term compression range at this time. So price should go sideways for an hour or two. If we see any kind of lower low, that will be trend continuation. And either price is going to get forced against this band, right? And if we do get forced to get in this band, we will be either in a state of trend continuation, which I find more probable due to the seeming expansion on the 1 hour and 4 hour charts. But if we do go inside, then we return to a state of longer term compression, right? We saw an upward expansion here that held pretty well as soon as it was over, lateral trading, and it lasted for quite some time. So we're getting a new bout of downward expansion, and you can see how significant these generations of mass are here and here, just to compare strength of trend. So this is technically a stronger trend at the moment, or at least a more volatile trend for the short term. And any kind of significant selling action here is quite probably going to continue. Right? Of course, if we go above this pivot, which at this current moment is 10,200, and it will eventually reach around 10,150, then we enter a state of neutral compression. Until then, Bitcoin's trend is down. So we are bearish, but we are approaching that daily 500 period. So a slight hesitance to short at this stage in the game, since there were better options. I'm particularly talking about this roll down here. When we initially entered the state of compression. So at this current time, I do not think this is a good short entry. If we do end up testing either the 10,200 to 10,150 values, I would consider a short at that location with around a stop at 10,250. And then my target is just going to be around 9,800. Okay? So that's it for today, folks. Hope this was useful information. If you have any question or comments, do let me know. I'll talk to you all tomorrow at 1 p.m. MST. Have a good one.